My parents spent over $100,000 proving my brother's fiancée was beneath us. Then I found his messages. She'll never leave me, he laughed. At the wedding, she smiled like she knew everything. So I took the microphone in front of everyone. My brother, Jason, ended up sleeping on my couch. My parents put their house on the market, and nearly everyone involved decided I was responsible. Jason had always been protected from consequences. If he failed a class, the professor was unfair. If he lost his temper, someone had provoked him. When a girlfriend left our house crying, my mother said she was probably too sensitive. My parents, Laura and Thomas, accepted whichever version made Jason look best. He was their charming, successful son. I was expected to be sensible enough not to require the same attention. They also cared deeply about appearances. They owned a large house outside Charlotte, drove luxury cars, and belonged to a country club filled with people they wanted to impress. They weren't rich. They earned good money and spent nearly all of it looking richer. Jason brought Olivia home 2 years before the wedding. She arrived in an old Toyota Corolla with a dented rear bumper. She wore plain jeans and a faded blue sweater, and she handed my mother a bouquet from a grocery store. My mother looked at the flowers, then at the car parked outside. Her opinion was already formed. Jason had told us Olivia came from a modest family in Omaha. Her parents had worked ordinary jobs and lived carefully. They had never been wealthy, but Olivia spoke warmly about her childhood. My parents heard only that her family had less money than ours. During dinner, my father asked whether she had ever belonged to a country club. No, Olivia said. My family wasn't interested in anything like that. My mother gave her a sympathetic smile. You'll experience many new things with Jason. Olivia glanced at my brother, waiting for him to respond. He continued eating. I'm sure I will, she said. That became the pattern. My mother offered clothing advice Olivia never requested. My father explained basic financial concepts to her without asking what she already knew. Jason made jokes about teaching her to enjoy the good life. Olivia rarely challenged them. I assumed she was trying to keep the peace. One evening, she came directly from work wearing a brown cardigan. After dinner, my mother slid an envelope across the table. I picked up something for you. Inside was a department store gift card. That's generous, Olivia said, but you didn't have to. My mother touched the sleeve of her cardigan. I noticed you wear this quite often. You shouldn't have to depend on thrift store clothes now that you're with Jason. My fork stopped halfway to my mouth. Olivia looked at her sleeve. This wasn't from a thrift store. There's nothing wrong with thrift stores, my mother replied. I only meant that you have more options now. Jason laughed. She's trying to help you. Olivia returned the card to its envelope. Thank you, Laura. I'll remember this. Her eyes met mine for a moment. I saw the humiliation beneath her calm expression, but I said nothing. A few months later, Jason proposed. Olivia wanted a courthouse ceremony followed by dinner with immediate family. My parents treated the suggestion like an insult. My mother said Jason was their only son and deserved a proper celebration. My father began writing a guest list before Olivia had chosen a date. When Olivia objected to the cost, my mother promised they would pay. We can afford to give you something special, she said. You don't need to feel embarrassed about accepting help. I'm not asking for help, Olivia replied. I'm asking for a smaller wedding. Jason put his arm around her. Let them have their fun. My parents booked a private estate outside Raleigh through one of my mother's business contacts. They hired musicians, ordered imported flowers, and invited nearly 250 guests. The final cost passed $100,000. They didn't have that amount sitting in a bank account. They emptied most of their savings, added charges to their credit cards, and borrowed against their house. Olivia repeatedly told them to reduce the event. At one planning dinner, she looked directly at my father. Please don't borrow money for a wedding I never requested. We know how to manage our finances, he said. After that, every expense became a reminder of what they were supposedly sacrificing for her. When Olivia disagreed with my mother about the flowers, my mother said the people paying deserve some control. When Olivia suggested reducing the guest list, my father pointed out that her family wasn't contributing. At a barbecue, I heard him telling a friend that Jason was rescuing Olivia from a limited life. Olivia was standing behind him with a tray of drinks. My father noticed her and gave an awkward smile. I was only explaining that you and Jason come from different backgrounds. I understood, she said. She walked into the kitchen. I followed her. I'm sorry. Olivia placed the tray on the counter. You don't have to apologize for him. I should say something. Then why don't you? I had no answer. 2 weeks before the wedding, my mother asked me to deliver several boxes of table decorations to Jason's apartment. The door was unlocked when I arrived. Jason called from the bathroom and told me to leave everything in the kitchen. I put the boxes beside his tablet. The screen lit up. A message from a contact saved as Ashley work appeared. I hate knowing she gets to sleep beside you every night. Before I could look away, another message arrived. 2 more weeks of pretending. Then we can go back to our hotel weekends. A third followed. Delete these before your fiancé sees them. The shower stopped. Jason entered the kitchen and immediately noticed my expression. His eyes moved to the tablet. "Who is Ashley?" I asked. He picked it up and turned the screen face down. "Someone from the office." I saw the messages. "You shouldn't have read them." They appeared in front of me. Jason opened the refrigerator and took out a bottle of water. He looked irritated rather than frightened. "You're getting married in 2 weeks," I said. "I know when my wedding is. She thinks you're faithful. Ashley is a distraction. It isn't serious. She's talking about hotel weekends. It's almost over. Does Olivia know?" He laughed. "Of course not." I stared at him. "How can you act like this is normal? Because it isn't the tragedy you're trying to make it. You're cheating on the woman you're about to marry." Jason took a drink. "Olivia is getting plenty from this relationship." "What does that mean?" "She came from nothing. She drives a car worth almost nothing and wears the same clothes every week. She's marrying into a family with money and connections. We don't have the kind of money you think we have. That isn't the point. Mom and Dad borrowed against their house for your wedding. That was their decision. And Olivia?" Jason smirked. "She'll never leave me." The confidence in his voice made me feel sick. "Keep your mouth shut," he added. "There's no reason to ruin everything over a fling." I left without saying goodbye. That night, I kept hearing Olivia's question in the kitchen. "Then why don't you?" At 2 in the morning, I created a new email address and wrote down everything I had seen. I gave her Ashley's name, explained that she worked with Jason, and mentioned the hotel weekends. I ended with one sentence. "You deserve to know before you legally tie yourself to him." I sent the message and waited for the wedding to collapse. Nothing happened. Olivia attended her final dress fitting. The venue confirmed the schedule. My mother kept posting pictures of the decorations. 3 days later, Olivia came to my parents' house to assemble guest favors. Jason kissed her forehead while she worked. She didn't pull away. I searched her face for some indication that she had received the email, but she gave me nothing. I began wondering whether it had gone into her spam folder. Then I considered another possibility. Maybe she knew and was staying because she wanted the life she thought Jason could give her. I'm ashamed of how quickly I judged her. After watching my family insult her for 2 years, I still decided her silence proved them right. At the rehearsal dinner, my mother welcomed Olivia into the family with a speech about bringing together people from different circumstances. She said she was proud to provide experiences Olivia's parents had never been able to give her. Olivia's father stared at his plate. Her mother gripped her napkin beneath the table. When my mother finished, Olivia raised her glass. "To new experiences." Her voice was calm enough to make me uneasy. The wedding went ahead the following day. The estate was covered in white flowers. There was a champagne wall, live music, and a cake tall enough to require its own cart. My parents moved through the venue as if the entire production proved something about them. 2 days earlier, Olivia had told Jason that a clerical issue had delayed their marriage license. She said the ceremony at the estate would still go forward, but they would need to complete the legal portion at the courthouse on Monday. Jason agreed without much thought. The party mattered more to him than the paperwork. The officiant had been informed that the ceremony was symbolic. The guests knew nothing. Jason cried when Olivia walked down the aisle. He held her hands and promised to be faithful. She looked directly into his eyes as he said it. At the reception, my father gave the first toast. He praised the venue and thanked his friends for attending before turning toward Olivia. "We wanted to give her the kind of wedding someone from her background might otherwise only see in photographs." Several guests shifted in their chairs. My mother looked delighted. Jason sat beside Olivia with one hand resting behind her. He looked relaxed, handsome, and certain that he had escaped every consequence. I had been drinking white wine without eating enough dinner. My anger had been growing since the ceremony. When the microphone reached me, I stood. My hands were damp. I looked at Olivia, and she gave me a small smile. Then I faced my brother. "I'd like to toast the happy couple," I said. "But I think we should also raise a glass to Ashley from Jason's office. She's probably wondering when their hotel weekends can begin again." The room went silent. Jason's face lost its color. He pushed back his chair and reached for the microphone. Olivia stood first and placed a hand against his chest. Sit down. He froze. She walked toward me, took the microphone, and faced the guests. I received an anonymous email 2 weeks ago, she said. Now I know who sent it. Jason stared at her. You knew. The email included Ashley's name and mentioned the hotels. I hired a private investigator to confirm the rest. A murmur spread across the room. You had me followed, he asked. I had my fiancé investigated after learning he was sleeping with an employee he supervised. It wasn't like that. The investigator photographed you entering hotels together on dates you told me you were traveling for work. Jason looked around the room, searching for support. Olivia continued. I plan to speak tonight whether Rachel exposed you or not. I considered canceling the wedding, but most of the major payments were already non-refundable. Your parents would have lost the money and blamed me for humiliating them privately. My mother rose from her chair. You knew and still let us continue? Olivia turned toward her. I asked you not to spend this money before I knew about the affair. You ignored me because the wedding was never really for me. We were trying to give you something your family couldn't afford. That is exactly the problem. Olivia reached into a small bag beside her chair and removed the gift card my mother had given her months earlier. She placed it on the table. For 2 years, you treated me as if my worth depended on my clothes, my car, and my parents' income. You insulted my family while calling it generosity. My mother stared at the card. I was trying to help you. You were reminding me of what you thought my place was. Jason stepped forward. Olivia, let's talk privately. You had 2 years to speak honestly. It was a mistake. A mistake doesn't require recurring hotel reservations. He lowered his voice. We can fix this. No, we can't. Olivia looked at the guests again. There is something else this family should know. I was never financially dependent on Jason. My father frowned. No one said you were. You told people he was rescuing me. His expression changed. Olivia continued. Before meeting Jason, I helped build software for a logistics startup. I owned part of that company. 5 years ago, it was acquired by a larger corporation. Jason stared at her. You said you were a programmer. I was. You never said you owned shares. You never asked. You saw my car and my clothes and decided you understood my finances. My mother's voice became quieter. How much did you receive? Enough that I never needed Jason's money. Enough that this wedding would not affect my financial future. Jason took a step toward her. Why would you hide that from me? I kept the amount private because we hadn't combined our finances. You knew about my work. You simply didn't believe someone who dressed like me could have money. That isn't fair. You told Rachel I would accept your affair because I was lucky to marry you. Jason turned sharply toward me. You told her. I sent the email. I never told her what you said afterward. Olivia's expression hardened. I learned that tonight. My father pointed toward her. If you have that kind of money, you could have paid for the wedding. I didn't want this wedding. You could have stopped us. I tried. You wanted an event that impressed your friends, and Jason let you believe I should be grateful. My mother's eyes filled with tears. That money was our retirement. You spent it on a performance. We spent it on you. You spent it after I repeatedly asked you not to. My mother shook her head. You could have told us you were wealthy. Olivia looked at her. Would you have treated me better? My mother didn't answer. That silence told everyone the truth. Jason reached for Olivia's arm. She stepped away. We're still married, he said. No, we aren't. She explained that no marriage license had been issued. The ceremony had never been legal, and there would be no courthouse appointment on Monday. Jason looked toward the officiant, who gave a reluctant nod. You planned this. I protected myself after I learned what you were doing. You stood there and said vows you didn't mean. For the first time, Olivia's calm expression broke. I meant mine when I wrote them. You had already broken yours before you spoke them. Jason tried to touch her again. Don't. The sharpness in her voice stopped him. Olivia looked at my parents. I hope the wedding was everything you wanted. You paid more than $100,000 to show everyone how successful your family was. Instead, you showed them exactly who you are. My father called her cruel. She didn't disagree. Olivia placed the microphone on the table, gathered the skirt of her dress, and walked toward the doors. Her parents followed without looking back. I stood beside the head table while hundreds of guests watched my family collapse. Jason turned to me. What did you do? I told the truth. You humiliated me. You did that yourself. My mother approached next, crying hard enough to ruin her makeup. Why did you say it there? Why couldn't you wait until after the reception? I could have warned Olivia privately before the ceremony or asked whether she had received my email. Instead, I chose the microphone. I was angry, I said. That anger may cost us our home. The wedding debt already existed. But the family didn't have to be destroyed in public. The reception ended early. Some guests left immediately while others stood in groups, whispering as the staff cleared their plates. Someone had recorded Olivia's speech. By the following morning, the video had reached Jason's company. He insisted his private life had nothing to do with his employment, but the company wasn't investigating him for cheating. Ashley reported directly to him. He had participated in decisions involving her assignments and performance reviews, and he had never disclosed their relationship. After receiving evidence from Olivia's investigator, the company examined Jason's work messages and expense reports. They found that he had used business travel to conceal personal hotel stays. He was suspended and fired several days later for the undisclosed relationship and misuse of company expenses. Ashley left the company soon afterward. Without his salary, Jason couldn't maintain his downtown apartment. A few weeks later, he arrived outside my door carrying 2 suitcases. My parents' house had become unbearable. They blamed Jason for the affair, Olivia for letting the wedding proceed, and me for exposing everything in front of their friends. Jason blamed everyone but himself. I let him sleep on my couch for several weeks. He spent most of that time applying for jobs and telling me Olivia had deceived him. Whenever I reminded him that he had been cheating, he said her hidden money proved she had never trusted him. He eventually found another position, but it paid less and gave him no management authority. He moved into a smaller apartment and rarely contacted me afterward. The wedding didn't make my parents homeless overnight, but it pushed them into a financial situation they could no longer disguise. Their savings were almost gone, their credit card balances were high, and the loan secured against the house had added a payment they struggled to meet. A financial advisor recommended selling before the debt grew worse. My mother called me after the meeting. If you had kept quiet, none of this would have happened. Jason was already cheating. You didn't need to announce it to everyone. Olivia planned to expose him anyway. You gave her the opening. She was right about that. My father later sent me a message blaming me for the loss of their reputation and home. I replied that I hadn't chosen the wedding, borrowed the money, or cheated on anyone. He never answered. My parents sent Olivia a letter demanding reimbursement because she had known the ceremony wouldn't be legal. Her lawyer responded that Olivia had never agreed to pay for the event, had repeatedly requested a smaller ceremony, and had no responsibility for debts they assumed voluntarily. My parents sold the house and moved into a smaller place. About a month after the wedding, Olivia messaged me. I know you sent the email. Thank you. I asked whether she had always intended to expose Jason at the reception. She called me. At first, I planned to cancel everything, she said. Then I learned most of the money was already gone. Your parents would have blamed me regardless. You still chose to do it publicly. Yes. Her answer surprised me. They humiliated me in front of people for 2 years, she continued. Jason planned to marry me while continuing the affair. I wanted them exposed for once. Do you regret it? I regret that my parents had to witness it. I don't regret leaving him. What about my parents losing their house? They made those financial decisions before I knew about Ashley. But you knew what the consequences would be when you gave that speech. I knew they would finally have to face what they had done. Before ending the call, she said, "You didn't cause this, Rachel. You stopped helping them hide it." Olivia returned to Omaha for a while to be near her parents. The last photograph I saw showed her standing beside the same dented Corolla my mother used to mock. She could have bought almost any car she wanted. She simply never cared. My parents still speak to me, but our conversations avoid the wedding. Jason and I exchange occasional messages, though he has never apologized to Olivia or admitted that his choices started everything. I believe he deserved to be exposed. My parents created their own financial disaster because appearances mattered more to them than security. That doesn't mean every choice made that night was right. I told the truth in the most damaging place possible. Olivia protected herself, then used the audience my parents had paid for to humiliate them. My family says we destroyed their lives. Olivia says they destroyed themselves. I'm no longer certain those two things are completely different.